One day, I will be the greatest trainer. I will fight without giving up. You all know this music, and if you're like me, it's going to be stuck in your head for the rest of the day. It marked our childhood and reminds us all. Normally, it's a really pleasant memory. Come on, if that's not the case, allow me to take you back 25 years. The bell just rang, backpacks drop, shouts break out, and on the pavement, the children all gather around a big binder. They open it to find Pokémon cards lined up like treasures. They whisper, compare, and negotiate. I'll trade you 2 Salamesh for your Draco Fur. The trades continue, eyes gleaming. Everyone guards their cards like gold. At that time, the playgrounds became miniature financial trading floors.
The idea was to slow the invasion. Trading and bartering no longer satisfied the kids.
And at home, we devour the cartoon or play Pokémon Blue, my favorite on the Game Boy, and dream of becoming Ash. Pokémon was more than a game. It was a shared language, a total cultural phenomenon that crossed the walls of the school to settle in our bedrooms, our school bags, and our imaginations. In under 2 years, Pokémon became a global phenomenon, with over 30 billion cards and 10 million Game Boy games sold. A cartoon that has been broadcast in more than 70 countries. What makes this story even more remarkable is that Pokémon should have faded away like other playground fads. Remember Pogs, Tamagotchis, photo cards, the Spice Girls, all swallowed up by time. Almost 20 years later, in 2016, Pokémon Go brought Pikachu back to global attention. A mobile game that broke all records, with over 500 million downloads in just a few months. This generated about $950 million in revenue thanks to in-app purchases. The franchise leads with $147 billion in revenue, making it the most profitable ever, surpassing all others. All your favorites like Marvel, Disney, and others are far behind, but we'll come back to that later in detail. So, how did a brand born in 1996 manage to become a global phenomenon, stand the test of time, and reach multiple generations? Hey Team Mindset, I hope you're all doing well. Thanks to Emmanuel and Doombeazle for suggesting this video to us. Today we'll discuss the Pokémon brand and the business genius behind the world's most profitable franchise. Most importantly, what secrets lie behind this enduring success that even Disney or Star Wars couldn't replicate. And as usual, we'll finish with the business lesson that every entrepreneur should remember. Come on, let's take out our Pokeballs and go back in time to understand how it all began. Satoshi Tajiri was born in 1965 in the suburbs of Tokyo. An introverted child, he explores forests, rivers, and fields all day. His passion is catching insects. His classmates even nickname him Tokatabagu, the insect doctor. By the late 1980s, Japan changed dramatically. Green spaces vanish, cities grow, and children spend increasing time indoors. In front of screens, Tajiri sees his playground disappearing, and he says to himself, what if I could recreate that feeling of hunting and discovery inside a video game? A few years later, with the support of a small company called Nintendo, Tajiri will start working on a brand new concept, an adventure game where creatures could be caught, trained, and traded between players using a cable that connects 2 Game Boys. It took 6 years, but Nintendo president Shigeru Miyamoto believed in this young dreamer's potential. And you know how much, in Team Mindset, we love people who dream big. With a team of 10 people and a very small budget, they wrote the code line by line, imagining 150 original creatures, and created a complete universe inspired by the Japanese countryside. And on February 27, 1996, our lives would change forever. The Pokémon Red and Green games would be released on Game Boy. But wait, don't think everything would be simple. Sales began slowly, under 100,000 in the first weeks. But people enjoyed the game. Kids began trading Pokémon with the famous link cable. What started as a simple gimmick became a social revolution. This gray wire, which seems pretty harmless, would become a symbol, the first real connection between 2 virtual worlds. The game stops being individual and becomes alive, with creatures leaving the console to invade schoolyards. Pokémon clubs will start to form, magazines will publish tips, and toy manufacturers rushed to get licenses. By the end of the year, more than 1 million games are sold in Japan. In 1996, the Game Boy was at the end of its life, but Pokémon is going to change everything. Console sales will rise again for the first time in 3 years. Within 2 years, over 5 million more Game Boys will be sold in Japan, mainly due to the Pokémon phenomenon. Business newspapers call it a Nintendo miracle. A parallel universe has emerged, just beginning. Japan expected anything but this. A simple game for Game Boy, launched with relative indifference, is transforming the country. The worst part is that at first, there's no strategy at all. Pokémon wasn't intended as a global franchise. It started as a small passion project by a team of idealists. Nintendo soon realizes something is happening as magazines, toys, and songs all explode in popularity at once. Newspapers report it and stocks run out. And everywhere there's a strange name starting to circulate. Mew. No one has ever seen it, but everyone is looking for it. A Pokémon that's hidden in the game's code, which some say can be awakened through secret manipulations. Magazines start publishing theories, kids tell stories, and soon the rumor becomes a legend. All that without any internet buzz, without TikTok or anything like that, just by word of mouth. That's when things spiral out of control. Pokémon goes from 100,000 sales to over 10 million copies in just 2 years. Even the Pokédex, the well-known encyclopedia of 151 creatures, will sell over 1.2 million paper copies. The success is such that in '97, the Pokémon anime arrives on television Tokyo. Each episode will attract more than 3 million viewers. These songs become anthems. Let me know in the comments if you remember the Poké Rap. The toys will sell by the millions, and Pikachu becomes a global symbol. I was telling you, Nintendo doesn't have a strategy, and yet this improvisation will lay the foundation for everything that follows. A unique way to connect the game, television, and merchandising. Japan doesn't know it yet, but in this organized chaos, the country has just caught Pokémon fever. And the epidemic is about to cross the Pacific Ocean as quickly as a Wuhan virus. In 1998, the wave finally leaves Japan. Pokémon crosses the Pacific, heading to America. But there as here, everything must be rethought. Names, voices, tone, even the message. Nintendo will rely on 4Kids Entertainment and Warner Brothers for the adaptation. Their mission? To turn a Japanese game into a global cultural phenomenon. And that's where they'll find the magic formula. 4 simple, almost childlike words. Gotta catch 'em all. Catch them all. In Japan, Pokémon was about friendship and adventure. In the West, it's about possession. Yes, the capitalists. That slogan is more than just a battle cry. It's a marketing strategy that's brilliant and can be endlessly duplicated by every entrepreneur in the industry. In psychology, we talk about the completionist drive, which is the need to own the entire collection. It's the same mechanism that drives a vinyl collector to look for the last missing pressing, or a gamer to finish a game 100%. Pokémon made it an economic engine by making the original 151 Pokémon intentionally unavailable in a single game version. You must trade, collaborate, or buy. Every missing piece is designed to make you spend. Pokémon cards follow similar odds. 1 common in 10-1, rare in 50, and 1 ultra-rare holographic in 1,000. You buy booster packs, you hope for the jackpot, and you start over. In 2024, there were more than 53 billion cards printed and over $15 billion generated just from the card game. If that's not crazy, what is? That reminds me of Pogs, which sold 350 million pieces a year in 1995. Or Diddle Sheets, launched in 1990 and selling 25 million units a year by the early 2000s. By the way, Diddle made a strong comeback this year. But the difference is that while others just sold an item, Pokémon turned collecting into a whole universe. Within 2 years, Pokémon grew from a Japanese game into a global franchise. But to support this cultural success, A structure was needed. That's why the Pokémon Company was created. Nintendo realized that the Pokémon license was becoming too massive to be managed by a single entity. Three companies teamed up to form a unique organization in video game history. We'll have Nintendo, the console giant that you know, Game Freak, founded by Satoshi Tajiri, and Creatures Incorporated, which focuses on merchandise and card games. Together, they will form the Pokémon Company, a kind of superstructure that will be responsible for coordinating the entire Pokémon universe on a global scale. And it's not just an ordinary individual, it's a war machine with surgical precision, designed so that each element feeds into the others. The video game will launch the new generations of Pokémon and create something new. The anime will share stories, make the creatures lovable, and build a mythology. The cards, meanwhile, add to the fun by making virtual Pokémon into physical trophies. And finally, there are the toys, the clothes, and the collaborations that keep the excitement alive in everyday life. Everything is connected. Each game launch will be a global event, backed by a movie, new anime season, and merchandise. This is a circular ecosystem. Everything is connected and mutually reinforcing. The numbers will validate this. Over 200 million games will be sold by the end of the 2000s, and more than 15 billion Pokémon cards will be printed. And total revenue will surpass $40 billion then. That's huge for a franchise founded only 4 years earlier. But this success isn't accidental. Pokémon will rely on a universal psychological mechanism. As I explained to you in the previous chapter, the need to collect. A simple yet powerful idea makes the game addictive. The more you catch, the more you want to continue. This concept will become the basis for a model that many brands like Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Will later try to copy. Pokémon built an empire through growth, consistency, and control. But its greatest strength won't be in expansion, but in an element that even its founder couldn't have imagined. In 2023, 480 million games were sold, 1,015 Pokémon existed, 122 movies and series were produced, and total revenue reached billions. For comparison, that's almost twice as much as Star Wars and 3 times more than Marvel. Pokémon is no longer just a game, it's a culture. But let me reassure you, if you're starting your business and struggling, this success hasn't been constant. In 2016, 20 years after its creation, the flame seemed to fade. Game sales stagnated. Young people chose smartphones over consoles, and Pokémon was becoming outdated. The brand's real success was reinventing itself at the perfect time. Niantic, a geographic experimentation lab from Google, came up with a crazy idea: mixing Pokémon and augmented reality. At first, everyone laughs and thinks it's a bit silly, but some people believe in it because Google isn't just anybody. And that's how Pokémon Go was born.
There's a Meowth, a Poliwag, and some Rattatas nearby, but we don't really care about them. They're just little rats. They regularly eat rat poison. They'll die when we catch them.
In July 2016, the game will transform cities worldwide into giant playgrounds. And I remember it because at the time, I was working, but my friends would spend their days in the parks trying to catch the latest Pokémon. Millions will hit the streets with smartphones to catch Pikachu, Charmander, or Jigglypuff. With Pokémon Go, it's parents in their 30s, not kids who are out catching Pokémon. In 2023, 60% of Pokémon players are over 25, having grown up with Charizard, Mewtwo, or Blastoise. Most spend over 25 times more than a child player. They rediscover their childhood joy in their city streets. In just 1 month, the game will gather more than 250 million active users and bring in more than $1.8 billion in the first year. The media call it a social phenomenon, but it's really large-scale experience marketing. Pokémon invites you to experience its world for a price. This isn't a new strategy. The Spice Girls understood that 20 years earlier. Between 96 and 98, the British group sold $1 billion worth of merchandise: dolls, perfumes, magazines, clothes. Everyone had a favorite Spice Girl. Listening to their music was buying into an identity. That's all for this section on the Spice Girls. I contacted Yolande, our product manager at Entrepreneur Mindset, who knows more about this than I do. Thanks. Pokémon did the same. Each player has a favorite Pokémon and trainer. Every generation feels nostalgic. Each product will symbolize who you are in this universe. From the start, the brand focuses on friendship, adventure, and legacy, not power or performance. And what's magical is that its business strategy reflects exactly those same values. This duo, Sasha and Pikachu, is much more than just a hero and his mascot. It's a metaphor for the bond between the player and their creature, or the child and the world they're exploring, especially between two generations, those discovering Pokémon and those seeing it through them. The invisible bond between players and their Pokémon help the brand endure. They're not relying on trends, but on emotional experience. Competing 90s brands realized this too late. POG, for example, relied on competition and collecting. It was fun, loud, but short-lived. When the trend faded, nothing was left, no story, character, or emotion. Pokémon realized what many brands miss. Time is a marketing asset. Nostalgia is a strategy, not a coincidence. The brand capitalized on fans who grew up and became adults. Notably, this includes fashion re-releases with Levi's, Uniqlo, Zara, luxury collaborations with Tiffany & Company in 2023, and a Netflix series announced for 2025. Honestly, I think I'll watch it. Pokémon is giving us a marketing lesson here. They never chased after trends. They cultivated loyalty where others tried to create buzz. Brands that last don't sell something new, they maintain a habit. The greatest marketing successes don't sell a product, they sell a piece of emotion that we never really want to let go of. A bit like Rolex, which created an unstoppable marketing strategy by manipulating the minds of its buyers. Who would pay the price of a house for a watch, as shown in the video?